as you prepare in the fall for the 2013-2014 season, you're going to have this whole new skill set to use when it really matters. So,
well, I got a question for you, Dave, and then you guys maybe we get a question or two. So, Dave was really never won a match freshman year, minus the forfeit, right? And then wins a state title. Well, one of the things, a lot of these kids work very hard, but they have a hard time visualizing and they have a hard time bouncing back from a setback. We've seen some people work super hard and not even make it to states. Guys, what questions do you have for Dave, a guy that never won a match as a freshman, won a state title, won a national title, one of the best wrestlers in the world? Whether you wrestle or not, what questions, would you ask him, right? If this is like your opportunity to ask a guy, seriously, how many kids never win as a freshman and then win a state title? What questions do you guys have? You could ask one question to Dave that could help you, what's your stumbling block? Ask Dave a question.
How do you come back when you lose your first match in the tournament?
I have, honestly, I've always had in my head, I've always prepared myself like the way that I train. And I know I've always trained hard enough and I'm doing the right things and I'm living that lifestyle of just being an athlete, like when I'm in a college season, not really to get off topic, but my focus is a little bit selfish in the fact that it's just me. In high school and in college, it's the same type of thing. My summers, I come down to the shore, hang out, go to the beach or whatever, but my summers would often revolve around choosing, am I going to go to a tournament and get 4 or 5 goes in and get to beat up on some guys for half a Saturday, or am I going to hang out at my friend's house in the backyard by the pool? And those are the types of decisions that they have to make to kind of make sure that they're doing the lifestyle, because it's not just if you're going into practice and working hard, but you got to be doing the right things. Are you weight training right? Are you eating right? Is everything focused towards that goal? And then once I have that and I know that, even if I lose my first round match, which I've done before, I just did that at the World Team Trials this year. My freshman year as a heavyweight in college, I lost my very first match ever at the NCAA tournament. And just knowing that I've trained hard enough, and occasionally you will make mistakes and you will lose matches. There's no way around it. There's not too many guys that get to wrestle a perfect career. And I don't want to say there's no sense in wrestling with that mentality in mind, but and not that I've ever prepared myself for a loss either, but I know that I have the right skill level and I've got the work ethic to where my first round match really has no correlation to what my second round match is going to be. I could make a mistake like I did in my red shirt, or like I did my freshman year as a college guy at the NCAA tournament, and I went out there and got pinned in a minute. I made a mistake as a guy that I scouted a tiny bit. He gets in on a shot, and pretty much we're rolling around, and big old dude was about to make 285, probably like 310 at the time, and just goes for my leg, and I'm trying to be light and scramble with him, and he just pretty much jumps up and just laying on top of me. I can't believe fat in the face. So I got back from that, and even though I had made a mistake and I was upset and I was more angry than anything that I let that happen, because that's a 4-month season that I just lost that first round match to. I've been training all that time, so I'm not going to let it go early. I'm not trying to pack up my stuff 2 days before the end of the season anyway. So if I lose, man, that next guy's in a lot of trouble. It's not even a sense this sucks, I lost, I don't want to be here, I'm no good. It's shit. this next guy's going to be in pain. Because I absolutely shouldn't have let that happen, and I did, and it's something that I'm going to build off of. My next practices are going to be the best practices that I've had after that, but this guy is in a lot of trouble right now. He does not want to wrestle me, and that's the mentality that you have, and it's easy to have that mentality when you're doing all the right things. When you're training right, when you're wrestling hard in the room, when socially, like, you're doing everything right. If you have doubts, then maybe you aren't doing everything right. Maybe you're cutting corners here and there, or like you knew that you should have gone to a tournament, or you should have gone to club practice last week, but you skipped it to do nothing. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to take a little bit of time off, because your body always needs recovery, but I don't know, just I'm trying to I'm not trying to be like too confusing with you guys, but when you're doing the right things, you know, I don't know, like deep down inside, you know what you're doing is right or wrong. And if you do have that doubt, like, crap, I just lost, or I might lose this match, and maybe you really aren't training hard enough. And if you don't have that feeling, if you have that feeling of just knowing that, crap, that shouldn't have happened, but I made a mistake, I did this wrong, if you realize your mistakes and you work on those, and you go in to the next round match, whether it's on the wrestle back side, or if you picked out, or if you had a close match on the championship side, you better know that that guy does not want to wrestle. It's kind of a long-winded explanation, but I think there's a lot of insight.
Yes. Does anybody have one more question for Dave? Any of you guys, whether you wrestle or not? Who's got another question? Connor.
What do you do to like prepare yourself mentally for like, big matches?
I think kind of what you just said, right? Like you don't cut the corners and you're...
Yeah, like, I don't want to say I'm always ready. Like, I always just get my basic warm-up in. Like, I think, like during practices, every now and then it should take you about 15, 20 minutes to prepare yourself to warm up for like the morning of a tournament or like a match. And mentally prepared, I don't know, like a lot of guys like to have a certain song or like music. Like in my head, like if I can go out there, I've got my heart rate up once real good, got like a light sweat going, and just mentally just going out there. Even if I wasn't prepared, I'm like in college, the difference was at Hilton Coliseum, giant place, seats 16,000 people. They put up a giant curtain to kind of cut off like maybe a quarter of it. And there's like a little entryway to come out, and pretty much I'm warming up in the back. Mine's clear. We have a sports psychologist there, Martin Martinez, a guy that I'd always talk to, just kind of like real casually. And like one time, he just kind of talked to me. It was before Big 12 championships or the Big 12 finals, my freshman year, and he just told me, he's like, just, I'm like, I don't want to like sound dumb, but pretty much my NCAA or my Big 12 championship, my freshman year, it would have been the first time Iowa State had won a championship title in 20 years, maybe 25 years, the first ever Big 12 championship since they had been in the Big 12 conference. I had to win that match in order for it to happen, and he kind of pulls me aside and asks me if I'm prepared, and I don't know, I'm a little bit nervous, you know, but I kind of played hard, and I tell him I'm fine, so I don't know if he saw through the fact that maybe I wasn't, but he just like told me, like, close your eyes for a second, and he just kind of like, so I closed my eyes, and he's like, take a deep breath, and then like just kind of like visualizing, like from my head as I breathe out, just kind of take a deep breath, and then just run all this energy, like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but I think I picked up what he was talking about, and as I breathe out, just channeling all this energy, like down to my body, like down to my feet, and I've always just kind of done that like 3 times, and I don't know if it's something that he intended for me to do, but if I could just take a deep breath, take 10 seconds to myself, if my body just kind of worked up, just take a deep breath, and as I breathe out, just kind of bring everything down, and then I'm just always prepared, and then from there, I step outside that curtain, and as soon as I step on that between the backstage area and into like the main arena area, then I was ready to go. And that was just that visualization of pretty much crossing a line. I went from being backstage warming up to I'm ready to wrestle. And you know, it might be a little bit different for everybody, but that's how it was for me. And that's just getting that routine down and visualizing just doing what you do best, doing what you train for. So to be worried about what you train for, I don't know, it's just silly.
That's great. It's like you guys train so hard. I think you missed the visualization part.